Shalom Aleichem, Nesanel, Gantz. How you doing?
Aleichem Shalom, Ben Stark.
Ben Stark.
Nice to meet
Okay.
you.
So I interviewed Avi Klinger once for the article, and you told me that he's your partner.
Yes.
And with all due respect to Avi, you look a little younger than he is. So tell me, how old are you?
I'm 31.
What's your background? So tell me your background.
My background is professional, personal.
Professional, personal. You want to say both? Let's hear it.
I grew up in, I guess you wouldn't tell from my looks, I grew up in the Five Towns.
What about that?
Didn't have the beard then.
For sure.
Wasn't famous. I went to yeshivas, everything like that. Actually was in chinuch a little bit.
What does that mean?
I was teaching, like a little bit, I guess call it at-risk youth or whatever you would. Mm-hmm. And I decided it was time, Be'ezer Hashem, I got married, had a kid on the way, it was time to be mishtadel for parnasa. I was introduced to Avi, I think 2016, something like that. And Baruch Hashem, I started selling one thing for him, and then we started a new business, selling something else together as partners. And
what were you selling?
Baruch Hashem, we were selling inspections for construction sites, which was basically.
You had experience it? Like, what's your deal?
No, just try and sell. That's it. Okay. Try and Be'ezer Hashem sell. So we were selling basically, contractors. A lot of times are cutting corners and things like that. We were selling inspections where we'd have guys, seasoned veterans, know all the corners that they've seen cut in the past, and they'd come and they would catch those contractors in the act, coming daily inspections, and we'd send the reports to the owners, saving them money a lot of times, a lot of headaches as well.
Okay. I mean, he has a big company, so let's hear that procession. You were working as an employee, and now you're calling him as his partner, so let's hear that progression.
So, Baruch Hashem, there's a lot of people like to say that, I had this great idea, and I had this. Baruch Hashem, the right place, the right time, and the Eibishter sent us a new law in New York City Department of Buildings that basically was almost identical to what we were doing in luxury became a necessity, meaning our luxury service was a luxury for developers, now became almost required. The inspectors, instead of having to just have no background, they had to get a certain license called the construction superintendent license. So basically from there what happened was the New York City Department of Buildings made an ordinance that 10 stories and up had a full-time safety mashgiach on site all the time, making sure that nobody's dying, chas v'shalom, there's no unsafe conditions. 9 stories and down in New York City didn't have any safety representation. They were just able to pull permits and build with no safety mashgiach. People were never dying on job sites, and New York City started requiring that a safety superintendent is needed on construction sites. Now, as opposed to the bigger jobs, 10 stories and up, where it's a full-time site safety manager on 15 stories plus, 10 stories plus a site safety coordinator, these are full-time mashgiach tamidim.
Your mashgiach business.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, kashrus. That's what we did. So 9 stories.
The 5 towns is very controversial.
Exactly. I'm not getting into the 9 stories and down didn't have any representation. So deal be made where a superintendent had 10 spots on his license. He could put his hechsher, if you will, on 10 projects, and he has to be nichnas v'yetze every single day, go into check. So we basically, they say an idea in English, but it's an einfall in Yiddish. Why? Because the idea just
You're so from the 5 towns.
It fell into your head. They're just like, hey, this is something we could hire guys, and Baruch Hashem we did.
So how many people work in your company today?
We have in the field, Baruch Hashem, well, there's multiple services, 2 services in the field. The superintendent part, which I'm talking about now, about 40 guys, and there's another service which we have about 50 guys, which I can get into as well.
What's the other service?
The other service is basically another New York City Department of Buildings ordinance where the city requires in addition to a nichnas v'yetze mashgiach, they also require a full-time. He's not a licensed high safety professional. He's just a
right. That's the law. So it's funny. I'm talking to you now. It's ringing a bell. When I was talking to Avi, he's like, "You don't understand. I got this partner. He's from the 5 towns. He grew up like whatever, modern, became like this erliche yid. I admire him. He told you the Breslev, right? Your Breslev shtickle. There we go. Now it's ringing a bell. So I'm very curious. I never asked this question. As the other side of someone's watching his partner being interviewed in Ami magazine, like, what was your reaction? What were you feeling? Hey, okay, you should say different or this, that. What was your feeling when the article came out of your partner?
I was I had a lot of nachas. He's Avi yesterday can write a book. That's my challenge to you, Nesanel, is to write a book on Avi. He's has a ton of life experience, Baruch Hashem.
For sure. What you do is very fascinating because essentially everyone has to have it.
Exactly.
So my question is, do most people who are building construction sites, is the issue that they do not have it at all and they're really potential big issue? Or that they do, but you do a better service in providing that?
What I always like to say is you'll have guys we hire these individuals who have a license, right? We pay them a salary, they get paid every month, and we fill them up. We have a sales team, Baruch Hashem, that fills up their license spots to keep them busy working, but we pay them a salary regardless. You'll have guys who have the license, but instead of working for us getting a salary, they'll try and sell their spots one-off. The problem with that, obviously, is I always tell this to people. We charge, let's say, $3,750, another guy charges $2,500. That $1,250 a month, whatever, $15,000 over the course of a year, you're going to lose money. I always say, oh, you're paying. If this guy tells me he's paying $2,500, I said, okay, we're cheaper. Why is that? Because everyone knows construction is so important to keep going. In New York City, they're looking to give violations, which is costly, but also stop work orders. If you have a construction loan and you're paying interest of $100,000, $200,000 a month just on interest,
one stop ruins the whole thing.
One stop, we're already cheaper, so it's perfect. You're paying him $2,500, it's perfect. We'll do for $5,000, we'll still be cheaper. But
right.
That's generally.
No, so I think it is a strategy in business to charge more than others, knowing you'll do a better service. That's very interesting. So tell me, how long are you coming to OGBA for?
It's a very good question. I think 2018. Was the first, I think 2018.
How did you hear about OGBA before you came?
Our sales people came to the show, they checked it out, said we need to do it, and we came and haven't looked back, Baruch Hashem.
What's your favorite part about OGBA?
It's a great question. Honestly, from a Ruchnia's perspective, just being in a room with so many people that are maminim, that Parnasa comes from Hashem. It's a special.
I love that.
Every year, it's a special feeling. Walk away that it's.
And from a Gashmi's perspective.
From a Gashmi's perspective, you're speaking to people. You get your name out there. We have a new service that we launched today, Baruch Hashem. We figured there was no better time to launch it than OJBA show.
Right here, the OJBA show,
which is briefly, it's called Homecore Liquidators. We're buying and selling construction materials from surplus. I always say it's a corny line, but one man's surplus is another man's discount, right? So what we're doing is, Baruch Hashem, we have a lot of projects that they're finishing up. They're going to throw out sheetrock. They're going to throw out plywood, and we take it into our warehouse, and we advertise it to our base, and Baruch Hashem. So
have you got business from OGBA itself?
From this today?
Not from today. I mean, maybe
for
today?
I was saying from the past years, yeah. Baruch Hashem. I always say it's incalculable because you have your name out there so much.
To me, it's actually a fascinating thing. You have an event like OGBA where essentially, okay, it's a big deal. So I'm networking. I know these people. I know Jews. So it's another event where I'm going to meet Yidden. But one after another, people are coming up here and telling me, no, I come, I meet people, and I make money. It's a fascinating thing.
Right, it's Baruch Hashem. It is very.
It really works. So you're like this. You're like a Breslov guy, right? You go to Uman Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah, Baruch Hashem. I'm
zeicha to get in. So did you go there in Corona? Were you there one of the?
Yeah, I got
you wanted like 500 people there.
Yeah, it was cool.
So how do you handle stress? That's a good question for you.
So you're speaking about Uman.
Tikkun HaKlali.
Tikkun HaKlali. Kibbutz Tzadikim, actually.
Yeah.
I find it's very peaceful. It gives a person, sometimes there's a lot of bilbul. It says that, to say quickly, it says that Hayam Rav Vayanis, right? The ocean saw and Vayanis, it splits. What did it see? The Medrash says Aran Shel Yosef. So it split when the Yamsuf saw Atzvas Yosef, it split. We have a lot of times a mabul, a bilbul, a yam inside of us. We're just so busy and so stressed, and sometimes you go to the Atzvas Yosef, you go to Kibbutz Tzadikim, there's like a... Okay,
so I happen to agree. I'm a big fan of Kibbutz Tzadikim. When I was in Eretz Yisrael as a Baruch, I used to go to the Beis Chaim in Bnei Brak for hours. But that doesn't help you b'shas ma'isa. When you're actually very nervous, you're not going to Kibbutz Tzadikim.
Saying very good.
So what do you do?
Saying very good. There's certain eitzes to know that I tell you. So I know what you do. It depends. I'm saying for me, there's certain eitzes, not for somebody else.
To your eitzes.
So one is just I live with certain vortlich. Like from the meitzar comes the merchav. When a person's, that right now I'm feeling this. It's a sign. There's always the calm, the storm before the calm. I like to say. People say the calm before the storm. In business, it's when it's getting crazy. It means that They're, the Mashiv HaRuach.
Why do you believe that? It's a good question. People talk about that a lot, right? They say, like, there's a line that says, oh, if you know something is difficult, you know another door is coming. Who says? Maybe it's just difficult.
Okay,
right?
when you learn the Svarma Kedesh, and your mom and Hashem, you know that it's Hakol L'Tova, and now it's crazy, it's busy, it's a simon that it's good.
What was the hardest moment you ever had in business?
The hardest moment, that's a good question. That's a very good question. I would say during Corona was a challenge,
No, that's a schwach answer. Everyone says that. I want to hear a real answer.
What do you tell me?
Tell me that you messed up. Then you had a client who was going to sue you for your pants. You're about to lose your whole life savings. I don't know. What's the biggest difficulty you ever had?
I don't know.
I'll flip the question. Your partner is a little younger than you. Kidding, he's a little older than you. How do you find that balance of like a guy was trying to make it for a long time, you're younger? How do you balance that dynamic of two different people, two different life scopes? You came in as an employee, he brought you in as a partner. Do you feel it's now the same? What would you advise other people from an employee perspective who became a partner? What would you advise other employees who want to become a partner in their business? Because the question is sometimes people say, like, they'll leave and they'll go on their own, which essentially you could have done to a degree. But you said, no, let me stay where I am and offer that partnership. What would you say to other people who are in such a similar scenario where they have the ability to either go on their own or perhaps try to make a partnership? What would you say to that?
I think that it always obviously depends on the situation. The situation, obviously, I felt we needed one another, and
what would you advise to somebody else?
To somebody else, I'd say in my particular situation, the experience you can't pay for experience. There's experience is key, and two people with the same vision can.
No, I want to be specific about this question. Sure. A guy who's it has a lot of people, right? There's benefit in starting your own. There's benefit in working with somebody else. So if you're in that scenario where like, hey, I want to go on my own, should I ask my boss if I want a partner? Should I not? Like, what would you tell a guy like that?
I would say find the middle. They say people say that compromise is both people are not happy, and I said I don't like that. Right? Both people are a little unhappy. I think compromise is the perfect place where you feel like you gave and you got, and everyone feels like he's not too slight. He gave a little, I gave a little, and we're good. I think that if you find that, it depends on the situation. Sometimes you feel like someone's a chazer and he's not. Okay, so then it probably makes sense not to. It really is all situational, I would say. And,
All right, I really appreciate you.
Thanks
so much for coming.